Hi, welcome to Composer's Voice. This is a special program out of Composer's Voice called Contemporary Recordings. The idea is to record compositions from living composers. My name is Robert Voisey. I'm the director, and I put together Composer's Voice specifically to highlight the works of living composers, to empower them and to get their works out to as the greatest audience as possible. The other mission of Composer's Voice is to feature the champions of new music, these wonderful musicians who learn and perform our music. Today we'll be featuring two great musicians. One that this is the first time I'm working with, Tengku Irfan, a fabulous pianist. I've been listening to him practice all along. And the other musician is Thomas Piercy, a fabulous clarinetist who has been championing new music long before he met me, and we've known each other for a while. I won't say how long. Thomas has been, like I said, a champion for new music, and he has been part of Vox Novus and its several programs. Composer's Voice, when we were doing concert series, this project with video, and he is a strong advocate of 15 Minutes of Fame, which he's done at least 5 sets. But with that said, let's get on with the show. We're broadcasting out of the Domena Center here in New York City. And in our studio audience is J. Anthony Gach. And if he could come on down, and he'll tell us a little bit about himself and his piece.
Great, thank you. My name is J. Anthony Gach. The works that we're going to perform this evening of mine is a set of 4 pieces that I call Elements of Style for clarinet and piano. And what I've done is I've composed music that tries to revisit the stylistic elements that define some old and venerable music forms. You know that rather cliched metaphor of pouring new wine into an old flask? Well, I was attracted to it. I mean, I got out of bed one morning and I actually was thinking to myself, well, why not try and write some music that explores these particular old and venerable forms? So what I decided upon was 3 lyric forms, the nocturne, an English air, and a bel canto arietta. And to conclude, the 4th movement would be sort of an impromptu, one of these anything goes kind of pieces. Generally, I don't work with conventional forms. I tend to prefer to let the music sort of dictate the musical materials that I'm working with, to let it actually define the form that I'm working with. So I tend to stay away from the conventional forms that have been handed down to us throughout the centuries. But at this particular time, I thought it would be nice to sort of try my hand at some old, venerable, conventional forms. So have a listen, and I thank you very much, Rob, Thomas, and Tengku. Lovely to be here.
Wow, that was just a great piece. Wow, awesome. Thank you, Tom Irfan. Thank you. Our next composer that we have is from California. So he is going to be dialing in via the internet and so forth. His name is Matthew Hetz. Matthew.
Hello, Rob, Tengku, Thomas. So thank you, Rob, for producing this and for being the director of Composer's Voice. I am Matthew Hetz, and Tom's not there, but Tengku, thank you very much for your rehearsals, and Thomas. And it's been I think it's amazing through modern technology. I'm in Los Angeles, they're performing in New York. Another composer, Leo's in Vienna, so it's just remarkable. And so quickly about the piece, it's a piece I can't put down. I've been recycling it. It first started as an oboe and piano work, and then it sat for a long time. And then I got to know this saxophonist who I'm trying to get interested in the piece, and so I transcribed it for both alto and soprano saxophones. And writing for saxophones has been a challenge, is to make it sound good. And it sat for a long time, and then this call came up, so I transposed it again for clarinet. And in the meantime, I'm redoing the saxophone part. So it's for whatever reason, I keep on repolishing this work. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's successful. It's in 3 movements, and my style, I've been gravitating more and more towards tonality and major minor modes. That's who I am. And I use standard sonata form pretty much because it helps me focus my thoughts, which I need. So the first movement, it's off-center rhythms, kind of a loose feel to it, syncopation, and then triplets take over and they end the piece. The second movement is stark and sorrowful. And the clarinet has the main melody and pretty much legato, and the piano has these staccato chords in between. And so after, I think, the second rehearsal of the piece, I just want to dedicate this performance to the people of Ukraine who are going through a horrendous, horrible situation right now with the invasion. As Zelensky calls them, the invaders. So if it can lift the spirit of any Ukrainian out there, I'm very honored. There's my own personal feelings on it. Third movement goes back to a major key, broken chords, which give it like an airy atmosphere to it. And it's a very energetic piece. So I hope you enjoy it. And again, thank you, Rob. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Tengku.
Awesome. Great piece, Matthew. Thank you. The next composer that we're going to have is David Evan Jones, another composer that hails from the West Coast. Earlier I was talking about how I've known Tom for a long time, and one of the great things about Composer's Voice is just getting to know a lot of new composers and learning about their works and they join us and stay with a while, and composers come, they go, and David is a composer that has been in the Vox Novus ranks for a long time. If I remember correctly, the first time that I became acquainted with his work was with another one of our projects called 60 by 60. That's 60 one-minute electronic works that are put back to back for an hour. David is primarily, well, I don't know if I'd say primarily, but he's a very established electronic composer. He's done a lot of electronic work, so I'm sure he'll talk about it a little bit. So yeah, I'm very acquainted with his one-minute electronic pieces from back then, and that's from a long time ago. I think he was one of the first composers that submitted to that project back in 2003 or 2004, if I remember correctly. Anyway, with that long introduction, let's bring on David Evan Jones.
Hi, and thank you, Rob, for that introduction. My name is David Evan Jones. I'm a composer, jazz musician, and professor emeritus at the University of California, Santa Cruz. I'm going to talk about not my electronic works, but Daishovo Zameko, which is the piece we're about to hear. I began to compose this piece as a dance piece for musicians and folk dancers who met monthly at my home over a 10-year period. We met to play and to dance to Balkan tradition, music in the Balkan tradition. I have long been enthralled by the rhythmic sophistication and high performance standard in the Bulgarian folk music and dance. So following Bartók and so many others before me, I set out to compose a piece that fuses rhythmic elements of this tradition with aspects of my own harmonic style. A daishevo, from the name of the piece, is a traditional Bulgarian dance in 9/8 meter, traditionally grouped as 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. But daishevo zamaiko varies the subdivision of the 9/8, changing it to 3 plus 3 plus 3 at times, and several other possible subdivisions. Still, the 9/8 meter is maintained throughout the piece, and the traditional 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 3 continually reemerges. The score to daishevo zamaiko is available at American Composers Editions at composers.com. And the first recording of the piece was released in 2004 as a Centaur Records CD entitled Neo-Balkan Jazz and Concert Music. I want to express my gratitude to Thomas and Tengku for their work on this piece. I'm looking forward to hearing this new interpretation of the piece this evening. Thank you for listening.
Now we're going to come over back to the East Coast with a work from Lawrence Kramer. Lawrence Kramer is the composer we've been working with recently. He's a distinguished professor at Fordham University, and if we could bring him on, that would be great.
Hello. Yes, I am Lawrence Kramer, and I'd like to begin by adding my thanks to those of my colleagues, to Thomas and Tengku for their wonderful musicianship, putting it at our collective disposal. It's been great working with them. And to Rob for producing this program and many, many others like it. You guys are the people who give composers their voice, and I think I can safely say we're all very grateful for it. My piece is called The Light Fantastic, and the story of the piece is all there in the title. If you know the phrase, my guess is that you know it from the song The Sidewalks of New York, otherwise known as East Side, West Side, which is a great hit in the year 1894. And in that grand old popular song, there is a couplet, a pair of lines, which says, we tripped the light fantastic on the sidewalks of New York. And actually, in the piece, the first thing you're going to hear is a reminiscence of the song, Sidewalks of New York. Be immediately recognized, I think. Well, it's rather astonishing, actually, at least to me, that in a song geared to the popular market back then, that this phrase, we tripped the light fantastic on the sidewalks of New York, should actually be a poetic allusion to a work by John Milton, a poem called L'Allegro, written in 1652, which contains the lines, come and trip it as you go on the light fantastic toe. And you can see the similarity of language. And so we have a kind of celebration of urban energy and urban pleasures, which goes all the way back to the 17th century. And my piece is really just that. It's a celebration of the pleasures of urban life. In this case, it's a kind of a love letter to New York. It's in two continuous movements, fast and slow. And I associate the fast movement with daytime and the slow movement with nighttime. So you can just listen to that. It's pretty straightforward. And also the piece has a cadenza for clarinet in the middle of the first segment. So you can hear this progression from day to night in a world of urban pleasures. And that's really what both the poem and the song, the old song, are all about. Passing through this rather free, rather virtuosic cadenza. And so thank you for listening, and I look forward to hearing this evening's performance.
What a great piece. I feel like I'm in New York. Our next piece is by Leo Brauneiss. Leo has stayed up very late to join us tonight. He is hailing from Vienna. As he's falling asleep. Hey, is Leo out there?
Yes, hello and servus from nightly Vienna. Hmm? Hmm?
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm great, and first of all, I'm glad and grateful being part of this wonderful project. So thanks to Thomas, Tengku, and of course Rob. So I'm a composer, musicologist based in Vienna, as you already know, but teaching also in Germany at the Hochschule für Musik in Leipzig. About the piece I composed 3 years, many years ago. I, like Robert, I won't tell you how many years when I was still young, but I revised it for this performance and for when applying for this call for scores. So it's about there are three movements referring to the triad in different ways. This is most obvious in the last movement where six triads are circling. It's a slow movement. The first one is a series of gestures telling a kind of story. Maybe you can say it's a novel in just 1 minute. So these are very short pieces. I forgot to mention particularly here. It's just 1 minute pieces. So altogether about 3 minutes maybe. And the second one is very fiercey, and it is like as if the music wants to break through a wall to open a door, and it succeeds only in the last bars, and this is a kind of rediscovering the triad, and this piece ends with a triad. So thanks for listening. I forgot this. So thanks all listeners too. Hope you enjoyed.
you, Rob. Thank you so much to the composers. Thank you, Zach. Thank
Do you guys want to sit for a second? We'll just let's why don't we bring the whole cast on online and we'll get ourselves situated here. Come on up, Jay. Yeah. I will welcome everybody. I just want to say thank you all for participating in this project. It's just been absolutely fabulous to work with you and have it performed today. Yeah, thank you. Thank you again, Tom. Thank you again, Irfan. It's been a wonderful performance. I guess I'm just kind of curious to think how what do the composers think of this sort of online studio sort of concert performance?
Well, if I might begin, I think it's nice to have an audience. I think Tom had an awful lot of music to prepare, and he prepared it so nicely. And but you sometimes, I don't know, perhaps you'll agree with me, that an audience can give you some extra added energy that is sometimes lacking in a recording session like this. But the performances were just so wonderful. I was so glad to have the opportunity to come into New York and have listen. Yeah. I mean, an audience is great for supplying that inspiration and that energy. But a recording like this is very intimate, and it's wonderful to be able to share it.
And okay, let me ask you. So we're audience of 5, 6 here recording in Domena Center. So what do you think about that? Is it fun?
Yeah, I would say that it's a different sense of concentration. In a way, I would say it's different from a recording studio with absolutely no audience, no streaming, and then there's the performance with an audience. I feel like this is one of a kind, in a way that there are people watching that we can't really necessarily see from them, but we know they're there, but at the same time it's a live recording. So I agree with Jay in a sense that having people in the room would help the energy. Yet at the same time, through this process, I feel that there's a for me and Tom while performing, because we know that this is our one shot. So we're giving all that we can in every second.
Right. So that's the interesting thing. It isn't as intimate as this is, and we're all recording it, and we have different angles, and there will be some editing in the mix, but it's not a studio recording, right, Tom? I mean,
It is. At first, I thought it was a combination, and my head kept going in practicing and coming in here and warming up. It's like, okay, it's a performance, but it's not an audience, so that is different. It's not a recording where I can start and go over again, and if I missed a page turn, I can do that, or worried about. So that, knowing that it's not stopping, but to me, it wasn't a combination of the two. It was something totally different. So thank you, Rob, for that. But through this, I didn't feel I needed an audience, although I was aware that there's the audience there or there, whatever. To me, this was a very intimate playing of music with Irfan. And also knowing the composers are there and they're going to be listening to this. But really my concentration was on expressing what's in the music with Irfan in the moment. So to me, that was a completely different thing, but similar to what I do in performances, because in performances, I feel that I have this bubble. I try to create a bubble around me or on stage. And the audience, I want them to feel free to come into that bubble. So tonight was a special bubble. Thank you, Irfan.
Thank you, Bob.
Can I ask you then, Thomas and Tengku, do you get a sense that there is an audience out there that's listening in the ether?
No,
No, you
No.
pretty much feel yourself in
I
that
mean,
bubble.
I intellectually know,
Intellectually
but
you
when I'm
understand it.
playing, I am focused on the dots in front of me and bringing those dots to
To
life.
life, yeah.
If there's an audience, it's fine. If there isn't, that's fine. Not that those of you who are watching are irrelevant, but what I was doing
Thank
in
you.
that moment, whether it was for you or not, that part is irrelevant. That wasn't in my head. It was to make that music at the moment in front of me.
Right.
So it's also one of there's always like best laid plans and so forth. I was hoping to have like a big monitor so we could see the screen. So for us, we're kind of looking into nothing. We're looking into the camera. But the composers online, what do you guys think of the sort of online performance? I guess if Leo, we should probably talk about you first because you're in Vienna, right?
He may have left. He said he's going to get some sleep.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. See, well,
I don't blame him.
4 in the morning. Vienna.
How about you, Matthew?
I'll take a performance anytime, anywhere, any place. And this was fantastic to both Irfan and Thomas. And I think it's part of modern life. The pandemic has switched the idea of concert going. So, but absolutely, when you're with other people in a concert, I love going. I prefer live concerts because of that energy, as said, and so forth. But this is fantastic because I get a performance, a wonderful performance, and who knows how many people I've invited people and so forth. So who knows how many people out in the audience, the electronic audience, are there. So it spreads the word, it spreads our work around. I just find it fantastic. It's great.
One thing I will add that I like, yes, concerts are great, but it's also great knowing before I played, not while I was playing, thinking, but this is recorded. So if there were 10 people or 100 people watching, that's good, that's fine. But it is here to be seen by as many people who want to see it later.
Yes, that's very important too, yeah.
And of course, when we do recording sessions, I mean, I've been doing a lot of orchestra recording sessions recently over in Central Europe and Eastern Europe. And of course, you never get a sense of the entire piece when you're actually doing a recording session because you're going pretty much letter by letter or section by section. So something like this, even though it is a recording, you also get a sense of the performance that you don't get when, for example, when I'm doing orchestra recordings where we're just going piece by piece. And eventually when the editor gets a hold of it, he puts it all together and you get to hear what it actually sounded like. But in a situation like this, in a format like this, we actually are recording as well as getting a sense of the entire piece in its entirety, which I think is important, is interesting.
Yeah,
I also think that, me personally, I feel like that's really important just for a composer to listen to his pieces. I think
All the way through, yeah.
yeah, all the way through. Everybody's heard their piece before, right? This well, Matthew, you said yours is new, right?
The first movement has never been performed. Bad feedback, sorry. The second and third movements were performed at a little different version. But it's great to hear it live. I mean, it got Sibelius and played through the computer and so forth. But as Thomas was saying, this is in the moment. So this creates that good tension. Because I play a little bit in orchestras, violins, is that tension of you have to be here right now and you can't go back and say, I missed out, can I redo that please? You know, so that's a wonderful tension of this good artistic musicianship tension of playing. It was fun, it was good, it's really nice.
There's also another moment. Can I be heard?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, great. Which is that once this event is finished being live, it goes online. And it can be played over it's a perpetual, moto perpetuo, it can go on forever.
Right.
Which is, of course, something that doesn't happen with live performance, even if you record it. So that's another dimension of the experience. And I think for me, well, I agree with Matthew, any performance, any time, we'll take it. But the thing about this is a new medium. The technology is here. It creates a different set of circumstances. I mean, I think we'll find creative, new, novel ways to exploit this particular kind of experience and the peculiar intimacy that people were describing earlier.
And also for me, one of the things that I love about this format is, when I was doing Composer's Voice and, we would bring, all the pieces together to perform live, it was a lot of fun. And we would have sort of a get-together afterwards. However, I would say at least half of the time, most of the composers couldn't attend. They're from all around the world. We play music from composers from 30 or 40 different countries. And obviously, it's not practical to come to New York for every performance. So the works would get played in New York. Great, yay! It's another thing to put in a resume and so forth. But you don't get to hear it live. And in this format, you do get to hear it, and we also get to interact with each other and talk to each other and listen and about who we are and what our pieces are about. And I think it's another added dimension to what we have.
Yeah, I appreciate the format for all the reasons stated. I have perhaps a nostalgic connection to the concert hall because of the sense of presence and commitment in being present, not in one's own room, and listening through headphones, but rather more immersive. So I just to say that I appreciate both very much, and this format brings us together in ways that could never have happened otherwise, and so I appreciate it for that.
And I must say, I did enjoy playing in this big room. Those who you can't see, I guess, the ceiling is like 3 stories high, this beautiful wood everywhere, and it goes on, and that felt good instead of sitting in a 15 by 20 foot studio.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
We've done opera in this room, as a matter of fact, small operas.
the Domenis Center
Had a
is
couple.
great. It's
Right.
it's a wonderful venue, but it's so funny because actually Tom has worked with me. In the studio, I work at Manhattan Neighborhood Network as well, and their studios are beautiful. It's great, but it's a different experience.
Yeah.
There,
It was actually exciting because it is pitch black in there. And we're playing off our iPads, so we don't need the lights. It is, and we know from looking in the monitor that it is pitch black behind us. So we look like we're just sort of floating there. And it's always just been 2 people or doing a solo. And there was that great sense of drama in that darkness and in being alone or just with 2 people in that space. And knowing the magic that they can do with the TV stuff in post-production, which they did. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah, that's the other sort of interesting thing about how it moves forward. Is I have many mics and camera angles and so forth, and we'll be mixing this down and adding the digital magic, and we'll be presenting these pieces on Composer's Voice. We present once a month on the first Saturday.
Great.
Great. Well, everyone.
And I want to say thank you to Mr. Jones, Mr. Brauneiss, Mr. Gach, Mr. Kramer, Mr. Hetz for working with us in the rehearsals. It was very helpful. So thank you.
Yeah, it's delightful. It's delightful working job. Good.
Thank you again, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you at the.
Yeah, and so thank you, Rob. And we can't get together, but I'll have a beer in all your memories and all your
For all
health.
of us. For all of
There you
us.
go.
Yeah.
Salute. Okay.
Great. Grand. Ciao.
Ciao.